up, everyone? It is your girl Gel Beauty 87 here, aka Grace, and today we're gonna get into some of my most used palettes in my collection by brand. So I decided I wanted to go through and show y'all some of the stuff I like to use pretty consistently. So I have a few brands here to show you and talk about. So without further ado, let's get into it, because you know it's gonna take me forever to talk about these few palettes. I can do a part 2 if you want, because I had a few more I want to talk about, but I didn't want to make it too long, and we know it's me, so I'm gonna make it take longer than it needs to anyway. But let's start off with Lethal Cosmetics. So these are my Lethal Cosmetics palettes I use the most. Of course, it is my Night Flower. Y'all know I love a blue, green, purple moment, and this is blue and purple. So hello, it's giving I'm living. Yes, I've made a few nice looks with this palette. I like to pair this one with the other one though, like the newest one of the early ones that came out with this year, the Wildflower palette. So I feel like these pair very nicely together with the color stories that's going on, because you get some lighter and pastel-y like shades to transition with, or like use as I guess crease shades or airbrushing shades, and then you have like the nice dual chrome shimmers in here to go with some of the deeper tones of matte in here. There's still a couple of deep mattes in here, but I just like to combine both of them because you get the little pink and then the little green moment, and I just think they look stunning together. So I use both of them on their own, but I prefer to use Wildflower with Night Flower. I don't just like to use Wildflower on its own. Then I have the two holiday palettes. So this is Metamorphosis and this is Evergreen. So when I like to do a nice warm tone moment, I would reach for Metamorphosis. As you can see, she's giving lots of nice warmth throughout the entire palette. It has some nice shifting shades. It has some actually darker shifting shimmers that I actually like, which is weird because I usually don't like darker shimmers, but I feel like they go well with the palette as a whole, and I love Lethal's color story. So this is definitely when I reach for it, and I'm not one who reaches for warm tones, so that tells you it's giving something special. Then I have my Evergreen. Now y'all know I love my Evergreen because she's a blue, green, purple moment. Although technically I don't know if people would consider this a blue, green, and purple moment, because I feel like it doesn't necessarily have enough elements of all of them that some people might think, but to me it's fine. I love it, and she was in my blue, green, purple ranking, if y'all remember correctly, so that shows how I feel about it. So put that one to the side because I got another video I need to film. Okay, so that's the Lethal ones. Now let's get into some other ones. I guess I'll get into the smaller sets. So next I have my Shroud cosmetic set. So I have 3 Shroud palettes that are my go-tos I usually reach for. Y'all know Moonfall is one of them. I absolutely love this. She's dirty, she's beaten, she's battered, she's abused. That's how much I love her. Like, I especially plan on getting a lot of use out of this during the fall and the winter months, just because it gives that cool, grungy vibe that I'm feeling and loving. So I will be using that for sure. And I'm pairing it with a lot of other palettes that you all have seen. Then of course we had Halloween. This is the perfect time of year to be using it because it's Halloween. The shade Black Flame is everything. She was doing it with that. And the shade Ghoulish, I really like to pair this with Angelica's palette. You'll see a little bit later, because of course Moon's Eye is in here, but I really love the color story of this, and I actually like the color story of this better than the original, which I never thought I would say, because the original was definitely more my speed, but this one has grown on me and I actually reached for it more than the original. Last, we cannot talk about my Peaches and Dream. That shade Succulent alone is the reason that I love this palette. Like, this shade alone just gives me life. I love it. But all the shades in here as a whole work really nicely, and I feel like this will pair really nicely with Moonfall, as weird as that sounds, but I feel like I'll get some unique out of my comfort zone type color story, so I can't wait to pair this with that. I kind of want to pair it with Warlock too. Y'all just saw that video of the Fantasy Cosmetica palette. I want to pair this with that so bad. I think all of these are just going to look stunning together, and I feel like all these palettes work nicely together to give unique color stories when I'm trying to reach outside of my comfort zone and do something different. So those are the Shroud ones I had to show. On to the Ace Beauty. So I got 3 Ace Beauty palettes I reach for pretty regularly, and this is them. These are the 2 holiday ones, and then I love my Paletopoly palette. I feel like if you want a good black on brand alternative to the Barbie palette from Glamlite, this is for you. It has those blues, it has those purples, it has those pinks. It gives you this unique green situation here, and then it gives you a unique neutral set of tones to use. So I really love this palette and have reached for it quite a bit this year. I have it over here to show with another palette, which is why I didn't have it home. And the only downside I'll say with this palette is I don't like the fact that you have to buy the whole game in order to get it. I was blessed enough to be able to get this when they had a few that they were just selling the palette and they didn't force you to buy the game, because I don't like palette bingo, and that I've told that's all this game is supposed to be with this palette called Paletopoly. It's just like bingo or palette bingo or whatever, and I don't like that. I've done it like one time with Dion. I was not a fan, so I haven't done it since, but I really liked the color story of this, so I was so happy they let you buy it individually, because I just threw all the other stuff away and been upset I had to pay for it and then throw it away. So I love the color story of this. If you don't mind buying the game, or maybe you have some friends who'd be willing to play the game with you, then I guess it's worth it. But I think it's a great palette. Maybe you can try to find somebody selling it on Mercari, because I really like the quality of that, and the color story is stunning. Next, I have the Aura palette. To me, this is more like a nice berry tone palette. I feel like this will pair well with that new Cosmic Brushes palette that's supposed to be coming out, because it's like a 12 pan like purple monochromatic type palette. I feel like this will pair really nicely with that, so I'm excited to pair this with that and see how it goes. But when I want like the warm tone berryish with purple vibes to it, I think of this palette a lot of the times, just because I feel like it gives a great color story, and then gives you this nice green grungy tone that you can put with it that I wouldn't necessarily think to pair with this, but it actually looks nice together when you pair all the tones together. I've given you all looks with both of these, and I think I've done like battles or overrated versus old school versus new schools, old school versus new schools with this one. And I think it was, matter of fact, I think it was the Palettopoly palette in this one, and then the other one I'm about to show you was with the Oceanic palette, because I feel like this, the Envy palette, is a travel size version of the Oceanic palette without those bright greens in it. If you like more muted grungy tones of greens, then I feel like you'll like this one better, because it's not a full-on green blue palette. It gives you some neutrals, it gives you some deeper greens, but it still gives you like the blues. For the person who wants to play it safe and likes to dabble in color every now and again, I feel like this is more for you, because it's like if you want to dabble in blue, or you want to dabble in some brighter tones of greens, it'd be for you, but you still have this nice grungy neutralist section for you to be able to use every day. So it's more like a multi-use for every day, and then like dress it up at night with a pop of color type palette. That's what it gives me when I look at it, so I figure it's good for people like that. But I like to use it in all its colorful glory, of course, and just use these as like shades to play up the greens, or to play up the blues when I feel like toning it down a bit, which is rare. But it's a great palette overall, and if that's the type of stuff you're into, then I definitely think that they would be great for you. But I reach for them a lot just because I love the color switch. So next I have, sorry y'all have to keep reaching on the floor, but there's no space where I sit because it's cluttered like my life. But the next brand I have is the Cosmic Brushes palettes. So I have the Serenity palette. Of course, this is a blue, green, purple lover's dream. Everyone loved this palette. Everybody was enraptured and just obsessed with this palette. I think this is a gorgeous palette. Again, y'all know the drill. We got to cover up the orange, because I don't see her purpose. Otherwise, this palette looks gorgeous to me. The orange is just out of place and weird, but I still love the palette. I still reach for it quite a bit when I want to do a blue, green, purple moment. It's either this or the Evergreen or the Blend Buddy Lure palette. Y'all know I love that palette. Blend Buddy gonna be in part 2 though, just FYI, so don't be looking for them. Next, I have the Muse palette. I love this palette, especially when it comes to fall. Like, I cannot wait to pull this out and play with it some more. I think it came out earlier in this year, or maybe earlier in last year. I'm not exactly sure. I feel like it came out earlier this year, because I feel like it was in my palettes. My best makeup I've tried so far in 2023. But I love the colors of this. It's absolutely stunning. It gives me perfect like fall vibes to it, but I still feel like you can use it a little bit in springtime, so give me like spring vibes and then like fall and winter type vibes. That's what I get from this palette, and I've been able to create some gorgeous looks from it that it makes me keep reaching for it. I love the shifting shade right here, and this one up here is just a gorgeous set of colors that I want to use a lot. Next, I have my Delicious Delights palette. Y'all know I love pastels, and I feel like these pastels work for me nicely. The only downside with this palette, personally, in my opinion, is you only get this one deep shade of purples. And if you're like tan or deeper, I feel like this is the only thing you have that'll work out for you, is a deepening outer V shade. The other ones I feel like are still a little bit too light. Like this blue might be nice if you're fair or light, and this one might be nice if you're fair or light for an outer V shade. But like for someone my skin tone, it's not doing much for the outer V. I feel like we still have to go in and darken it with the purple, which I mean you can do, is perfectly fine. It's just it's gonna change the color, and I want it to just be a true rich deep outer V. So that's the only bad thing about this palette for me. But I mean, since it's a pastel palette, you shouldn't expect too much of like depth going on in here. So this could be a companion palette for me sometimes, and a lot of times I just use it on its own and just pick different tones, like the blues or the greens or the pinks, because they pick these airbrush tones that I feel like work nicely with that one purple shade that they put in there for depth, which I appreciate. It still works out nicely for me. And I've done a few looks, like 3 or 4 looks, and y'all know when you are a YouTuber and you have to try out a million palettes, the fact that you get to use a palette or you go back to a palette that many times is a big deal. So of course y'all know my brand Adept Cosmetics just had to be in here because I just love them so. So I'm gonna start off with my original, my one and only to this day. Whenever I have a purple look that I feel like just doesn't give me enough oomph when it comes to the shimmers, I'm pulling from the Enhydren because honey, the Enhydren purple shimmers are giving I'm living. Do you see how big a dip I have in the shade called Enhydren? Honey, I mean, I love this palette. This is still one of my favorite palettes from them. This isn't my all-time favorite palette anymore. It got dethroned by something else, as you all know, but I still love her all the same. It's gorgeous. I'm here for it. It's giving I'm living, and I just love to add that to a purple look to give it that extra oomph that it needs. Next, I have my Minka palette. I love to pair this one with the Enhydren that I just showed you, because at least you get these deep, you get this deep purple and you get this lavenderish purple, and then they give you like this dark, weird, grayish, purpley matte shade. So I like to brush that under the lower lash line, or maybe use it in the crease when I'm trying to get an extra smoky effect, along with this purple and this being my transition shade. The shimmers in here are absolutely stunning. My favorite shimmer in here is this shade Luna right here. I think it's gorgeous. It's a gorgeous purple shade. I also like the shade Selena. Those are my 2 shimmers in here out of all the shimmers. A lot of the other shimmers are, to me, seem a little more muted and more on the neutral side. So if you had to do like a neutral eye look and you wanted some extra pop to the eye, if you're going out for a night out, I feel like the rest of the shimmers in here would be good for that. But I'm usually stick to the bottom row with the colorful fun shimmers, of course, because it's me. But that doesn't make this a bad palette. It's just, that's what I've noticed when it comes to me reaching for this, that I prefer those certain shades as opposed to the top row, because they seem to be a little bit more on the neutral side. So my Arrow Inspired is in here. I hope you all grabbed it when she restocked it, because people asked for this restock. So I hope you got it since you asked, because I wasn't missing it when she first did it. Talking about wait for what? It's a blue, green, purple palette with multi-chromes and dual chromes. I have a whole row of greenish, bluish mattes for once. Who was waiting to buy this? Because it wasn't me. I needed it 20 minutes after she showed the picture. So I was gonna have it. I love the shimmers in here. I love the mattes in here. I like to pair this palette with other palettes in my collection, other blue, green, purple palettes, because I can get more blue, green, and purple mattes to go with the shimmers in here. But like the shimmers of Adept are some of my all-time favorites out of all the shimmers in my collection. I think they are stunning. So this is definitely a palette I pick up quite often. I actually like to pair this with the Michaela palette a lot, because I love the tones of mattes that she chose on her palettes when it came to blue, green, and purple. But the shimmers aren't beating the Adept ones at all, like whatsoever. So I usually pair it with that one just to get more mattes that I prefer, since Adept isn't known for giving you a lot of mattes and then just match made in heaven. So next I have the Cimmerian Sunset. This is the newest one they came out with. They have another one coming out that's, I think, supposed to be more like a highlighter S-type palette, I guess. I think it's called Rainbow Rider or something like that. I'm trying to debate if I'm going to get it or not. If I have to buy another palette from them during the holidays, I'll probably go ahead and grab it. But I don't think I'm just going to buy that palette. But anyway, this is what Cimmerian Sunset looks like. I like the color story of this. I feel like this would pair nicely with a lot of my warm tone palettes, and that's probably what I'm going to do with it. I usually just use the mattes in here, or I've been using the mystery palette, the La Cienega. I hope I'm saying it right. With this palette, but I want to pair with some other ones. Like, I feel like this would pair really nicely with Angie's Trick or Treat palette, so I have plans on trying it out with that, along with some other palettes. I feel like it might go really nice with the Warlock palette as well too, depending on which shifting shimmer I use out of the palette. But as usual, I love this as a companion palette, because a lot of time Adept doesn't give you like lots of mattes to choose from, so it's a companion palette for me, but I still get lots of use out of it, so I wanted to include it. The last one I have to talk about is probably my most used Adept palette in my entire collection. So I feel like you should already know what it is. It is my Seahorse palette. I was getting my $125 worth out of it. Okay, girl. I'm going to, I think I've paired this with Cosmic Brushes and a few other pastel palettes, or just regular palettes in general that don't necessarily have to be pastel, just because you can have a nice pastel shimmer on the lid or in the inner corner and reach for this and still use another palette, because the shimmers in here are just so stunning and lovely. I love the shifts in them. As you can see, mine have dips in them already. Like this one has a dip and that one has a dip, and that one over there, like lots of mine have dips, just because I really genuinely do love this palette. You should definitely check it out. If you can't necessarily afford the price, wait till like Black Friday or see if you can use a code or something like that, girl. Because like this is like if I had to recommend a palette from them, this would probably be the first one I would recommend, especially for someone who has lots of singles in your collection, as far as like single matte shadows, or if you just like have nice sparkly shimmers. I feel like this is a good palette to have in your collection. And you can pair it with so many things that's already in your collection, and there's just no, I mean, the shimmers in here are just, they're just lovely. I can't. So those are all the Adept ones I have. I only have, I think 3. I have like 4 or 5 brands left. Good Lord, I thought I had 3. Child, I was lying. Sorry. So let's get into the last one. It has like 3, because the rest of them I think have like a whole more than 3. So of course y'all know I had to talk about Glam Light. So these are my 3 most used Glam Light palettes. Of course my Glam Light X Barbie palette, and every time I talk about this, I talk about the inclusion of it all and the fact that like there are all different tones of Barbies on here, not just the normal tone of Barbie. So I appreciate that about this palette, but I definitely get a lot of use out of this because of course, what is it? It's blue, it's purple, then you got pinks, then you got a nice little neutral section here. So when I want to do like a reddish aubergine-ish type smoky eye, I know I can go in here and grab this real quick. Then if I want to do a blue purple eye, I can come in here. If I want to do a pink and purple eye, I can come in here. So like when it comes to certain colors, like when I think of certain colors, like these colors in particular, I automatically think of this palette just because I know I have it. I know the quality is going to be good. I know it's not going to take a long time to make an eye look, but I can still have a fun, colorful eye look if I'm in a rush. So that's what I like about this palette. I have reached for it quite a bit, along with the Ace Beauté one, because it and the Ace Beauté one are, to me, pretty similar. It's just the Ace Beauté gave you a little bit more neutrals than that one did. You saw that one little pop it gave, whereas the Ace Beauté, I think you give you 2 rows of neutrals and then like a weird yellowish tone to it. But the Scooby-Doo one, I wasn't actually crazy about this when I first tried it in the video. I thought I got a nice eye look out of it, but I was like, I'm not super crazy about it. But I find myself actually reaching for it quite a bit, and I've done like 3 or 4 looks with it. And again, y'all know if I'm doing 3 or 4 looks with it, it's a big deal because I have so many palettes to choose from. I need to finish editing my last episode of my eyeshadow palette collection, but it took like an hour to get done, so it's like I'm dreading editing and putting the music over it and all that. So that's what took me so long. But I have really been enjoying this palette this year. It came out this year and I've been using it a lot. Now this one is a new one to me, but I still use like 3 or 4 times because I like it that much. This is the Rick and Morty X Glam Light palette. Like, I love the color story of this. Like, the color story of this to me is just so stunning. I feel like they did an amazing job. Now I've never actually watched the show. I don't know anything about it other than what I had said in my initial video, and I do not agree with that, but I didn't know when I bought this about that. I had already ordered it, and then I started reading the comment section about it to find out basically like who these characters were and who these people were, and that's when I found out. So I love the color story of this. This is still going to be one of my favorite palettes in my collection this year, spoiler alert, but I don't agree with what the creators of the, or one of the creators of the show did by any means. I just thought it was a gorgeous color story and had to try out the palette because I love me some Glam Light. So I've used that one about 3 or 4 times because, you know, I'm obsessed, I'm enraptured, I'm in love. Now let's get into ColourPop. So believe it or not, I do reach for a few of my ColourPop palettes here and there, but the funny thing is, it's usually the ones that I recreated myself that I reach for the most, oddly enough. So we're gonna start with this Tinkerbell Sprinkle a Little Magic. Y'all know I redid mine. If you remember, I took some of the shades from the All Done Up, not All Done Up, what's it called, One and Done palette, that pink and brown palette that came out with a while ago. I bought it on sale and just took the pinks out of it and put it in here, and I think that's all I took. I feel like I took this shade and this shade out of there and put it in here to make it look the way it does now. And I like it a whole lot better because I like the brighter pinks they had. The pinks they had in here initially, I felt like were a little too cool and too ashy for someone my skin tone, so I didn't feel like they were working out the best for me, and I just looked a little crazy and I wasn't feeling it. So I was like, we're gonna do what we do best and recreate it and, you know, make it work for us. So this is what mine looks like now, and I reach for it from time to time along with my Milk Cosmetics one that I have that you should see in part 2. But the next one I have, of course, is Good Sport. Now I haven't been reaching for this as much recently because the formula is starting to change on it, but I found me a good dupe for it, and I tell the Lord thank you, because I really love this color story. And out of all the palettes they brought back, they still didn't bring back this one. I'm like, why couldn't you bring this back? She's lovely, she's amazing, she's wonderful. People have been talking about it, people have been telling you to bring it back, but you still couldn't bring it back. But if you have the Ambiance palette from Ace Beauté, then you have a similar color story. It's just not going to have this like burgundy shade in here, but I think it has a lot of these other tones in here, believe it or not. I know it has lots of the purples and like the greens, and I think it has a little pop of yellow, and it might have the oranges. I really feel like it's just this aubergine, and I think maybe like this shade, some of these shimmers right here it doesn't have. I'm not exactly sure, and I'm too lazy to go to where the box is and look for it. So sorry. Yeah, no. So this is still one of my favorite ones to use in my collection from ColourPop though, so I had to shout it out. She's an oldie but a goodie. Next, I have my Flirty Talk palette. If you all remember, recently I showed you all how I changed it around. So I took some of the shades from the BS21 palette, that big one they came out with, and some shades from It's a Small World. After all, at Disney World, the collab they did with them, and put them in here. So the ones with the insignia on them, like the little symbols, this one, and this one, I took from the It's a Small World palette. And then I think it was just like this blue and like this blue that I took from the BTS 21 palette to create this palette. But I love the look because it's giving like a boy girl moment. I still feel like I've said before, I could put like a purple in here because I still feel like there's a lot of red, and I want like a deep royal purple that I feel like would go nice with the random blues in here, and it would still look nice with the red and pinkish vibe going on. So I'm still trying to debate if I want to change it or not, but for right now I like it the way it is, and I've been using it the way it is, so that works for me. Next, I have my On the List palette. I got this on clearance at Ulta for like $4 because this was an Ulta exclusive collection if I remember correctly. And I just changed it around a little bit. I feel like these tones were already in here, and I just added like the brightness to the palette, or this green might have been in here and I just added like this stuff right here. I don't exactly remember because I did this one a while ago, but to me it gives me vibes of the new Mod palette. Like I made my own version of the new Mod palette from Beauty Bay. If you all remember that palette, I think it came out this year, or it might have came out last year. I'm not sure. I'm feeling like Retro Love came out this year and New Mod came out last year. Don't quote me though. But anyway, I really love the color story of this. I like my little warm tone, cool tone moment. I feel like if I wanted to go on vacation, I would definitely take this with me because I have nice, fun, bright colors to wear in the daytime. And if I wanted to do like a grungy, smoky, like weird color situation on the eye, I would use this side right here. So it gives a nice little balance to the look. I think I've actually paired this with other palettes as well, but I know I've used it on its own and I really like the look I came up with. Now, I got two makeup palettes, and y'all know like this is one of my all-time favorite makeup palettes I've redone. I think you all said this was one of your favorite palettes I've redone as well. I just really like the way this turned out. It took me a while to get here though, but I'm happy with it. So this is what she looks like on the inside. I feel like this is a good alternative to Mother's what is Celestial Nirvana palette that she came out with, because I really like the tones I put in here, and I feel like they're really similar to her tones. Now, I'm not crazy about the fact that it has the neutral section right here and then the orange section as well, because y'all know I'm not big on orange, but I just left it because it looks aesthetically pleasing. I don't have to actually reach for that row, which I rarely do. When I do, I usually do like an orange, purple, like pink type situation, and then I might do like a neutral eye with like the blues or something like that. So I do reach for it pretty often though when I am reaching through my ColourPop collection, just because like I said, it's my favorite out of all the ones I made when it comes to the Mega one. I only have one other Mega one I reach for pretty regularly, and that's because it's another one of my favorite color stories and aesthetics, which is what everybody says together. It's blue, green, and purple, so you should have known that it was going to get reached for a lot because it's blue, green, and purple, and I love what? Blue, green, and purple eye look. So it is my Aurora Struck. You all remember I took some fun indie shadows and pressed them into little pans and then just put it in here to make it look more aesthetically pleasing. I don't think I'm fully done though, because I still feel like there's some stuff missing that I could change out, because I'm still feeling like this weird orangey shade needs to go, especially since I have some tones over here that are similar. And I've been clowning like the Cosmic Brushes one, and I did the same thing with this random orange. Like, yeah, no, that won't do. But I'm still trying to kind of feel my way around this one a little bit, but I still like overall the way it looks for the most part. I think she looks nice, and I'm happy that I switched it around to make it more aesthetically pleasing to the way I like. So I reach for her from time to time. She's cute, you know, she's cute. Oh, y'all, palette's falling all over my feet. Okay, we only have 3 more brands left. So, of course, y'all know Unearthly Cosmetics is going to be in here. Even though I haven't bought anything for a while, and y'all watched the video and I told you why, I still love the brand. I still love the stuff I have from the brand. So, these are the ones I reach for the most. So, of course, I have my So Strange palette. I actually did a look inspired by the artwork from the Devour palette with this. And I used kind of like this section right in here, because y'all know the lady on the cover has like a burgundy-ish, pinkish situation going on, and some green for the plant that... the man-eater plant, I believe it's called. in there. So I really like the color story of this. It gives you this nice what do you call it, sunset moment right here, and then you can turn around and use like the pinks and the grays or whatever to create a gorgeous look. So I love this palette and I'm here for it, and I use it pretty often when I'm thinking of colorful palettes to use. I've actually paired it with the Glam Light and Rick and Morty palette, if I remember correctly, just because it has that yellow shimmer in there. It's stunning, it's amazing, it's giving, and I'm living. So now we have the Witching Hour palette. To me, this is a nice simple palette to reach for when I want just a certain monochromatic situation and I want to have to pull out a whole monochromatic palette, because it's like I can use this orange section real quick, or at least have like this shade is my transition shade in the orange one, and then put like the pink and the green together really quick and not have to reach for a certain palette. Or I can just use each row down the way if I'm in a rush to still do a colorful look and look nice. So I really like this palette for that. And when I'm feeling like this color story and vibe and I know I can get a quick look out of it, I'll go ahead and grab this to use, and it gets used pretty regularly. Of course, my Smells Like a Holiday Spirit palette, y'all know I love this palette. Unfortunately, she had a little accident. I don't know what happened. My son told me like it was shadow on the floor, and I'm like, where did this happen? How did this happen? Because I didn't do any of this to this, so I don't know where this came from. I feel like he knocked something over because it's clumsy, and I had my stuff sitting out to do my eyeshadow palette collection video, and this was sitting out and he broke it, which unfortunately I can't get anymore, so I'm sad about that. But you know, like, we gotta work what we got. Anyway, the color story of this is very unique, and it's one of those ones that's like I'm feeling like coming up with a unique look and I don't know what to do. I would pull this palette out, because it's definitely not just I can look at it and come up with a look. I mean, I see these two shimmers and I feel like they would make a nice look, but it's like I don't necessarily know like what mattes in here I would use along with these shimmers to make a nice look. So I like this one for when I want to challenge myself for a look, but know that I'm still going to have a good formula and it's not going to take me too long once I do come up with whatever creative thing I'm going to do. So I really like it for that, and I'm sad that it's broken up because I do actually use it pretty regularly. The last one is probably the one I use the most, but I feel like, again, you shouldn't be surprised when you see the color story and what's going on. It, of course, is my Vitality palette. This is still one of my all-time favorite palettes from the brand. I just love the way this color story is curated. I feel like it's like a pastel but still grungy, like rainbow palette, if you will, and it's just giving me all the feels in life. The one shade I could do without is the white. Like, I don't care about the white at all. I wish he had gave us maybe like a white bright shimmer or something instead of this matte white, but you know, like, I hear it serves the purpose for other people, so I'm glad for them. It just doesn't serve the purpose for me. So I still love this palette. I'm still going to get the other palette that she said she's gonna come out with the that was in the large summer mystery box to compare to this one to see if it'll be just as good to you all, since I love it so much and use it so much. But yeah, this is easily my like most used Unearthly Cosmetics palette, because she's just giving and I'm living. Okay, y'all, we got 2 brands left. So believe it or not, I actually use quite a few of my Nomad Cosmetics palettes. As you can see, they're probably one of the largest sets in here. Y'all, a brush fell and I was like, what is going on? So I have my Royal Europe palette. Shout out to my girl Dionluvsmakeup. She actually gifted me this palette this year because it has pressed pigments in it and she couldn't use it. And you can use code Dion at Nomad Cosmetics, because that's the code we use in this household. Thank you so much. I love the fact that this is perfect for fall right now. It has that royal jewel toned eyeshadow color to it that I really like for fall and winter time. So I definitely am going to get a lot of use out here. Plus they put multi-chromes in here, and like a whole row of them, because there's a multi-chrome in another one of these palettes I'm going to show you, but like there's a whole row of them in here, and I was mainly excited about that. I was buying this whether she gave it to me or not, just because of this row, because I was like, I need to try it, I need to know. And it did not let me down. Like, I love the color story of this. I love the shimmers in here. The only thing with them is I feel like some of their shimmers are hit and miss. Like, some of them are pressed too hard in the pan and it's hard to pick up, and they're not as easy to work with. This formula isn't like that, thank goodness, and this color story is really nice, so I'll definitely be wearing this in the fall time quite a bit. And I wore a decent amount in the springtime when the palette first came out. Next, I have my Fenty Province palette. So this one is a good alternative if you had the Dominique Cosmetics Lemonade palette, because the shimmers in there were hard pressed. The shimmers in here aren't hard pressed, and I really like this color story. I feel like it's like a unique color story to have in my collection. I like to use this more in like the spring and summertime though, mainly spring, and then like pair some nice shimmers with it. Like I would pair the Seahorse palette with this one just because I really like the mattes in here. And it's not that the shimmers are bad in here, it's just like I probably want a more shifting shade, and I'd use the shimmers in here as my inner corner. And for the lid, for some pow to go with these unique tones of matte, I feel like the Seahorse palette would be nice. But I like this one in the springtime. I usually reach for her in the springtime. She's cute. Then I have my Whistler Snow Lodge. I told you all, if you remember, this is a good alternative to the Christmas Eve palette from Woden's Eye that came out, because if you cover this up, this has a lot of those same tones in the palette. It just, they add a little pop of red with a little black. It gives their palette a little uniqueness to the Christmas Eve palette, but otherwise it's pretty much the same color story and tone. I really like to use this one in the fall and winter as well, just because of the uniqueness going on. Like if you cover up this part right here, I feel like it's a good, nice little fall winter section. And even as a whole, I feel like it's a good, nice fall winter section. But I feel like some people might feel like with the mints and the icy blues that it's better for like spring, if you will. So not that you can't use makeup anytime that you like, it's just I'm telling you my preferences when it comes to this stuff, since you know I'm showing you the stuff that I use. But this is one I do like to reach for pretty regularly, so I figured I would show it. Another one you'll probably be shocked that I reach for a lot is the Nomad Hudson Valley palette. Like when I need to do a warm tone look, if I'm not reaching for the Lethal Metamorphosis palette, I'll reach for this one, because I love when the palettes have warm tone and they have like these type of bright reds in them and these bright yellows. That's when you'll most likely get my attention. If it's more like just lots of warm brown neutrals and oranges, you less likely to get my attention. You need to have like a bright red like this, a deep burgundy like this, and like some yellow like this or something, and then have a nice little cool tone section to go along with it, so it's a nice little warm to cool moment. That's what I really like about this one. It's easy to blend, it's easy to work with, it doesn't take long to come up with looks, and that's why I reach for it pretty regularly when the fall comes. So definitely. The last two I actually pair together. One of them I don't mind using by itself, but the other one I've told you all that I felt like was a companion palette. So this is the Paradise Islands and the Monteverde palette. I use Monteverde on its own, but Paradise Islands I like to pair with Monteverde, so I figured I'd just show both of them to save us some time. But we still got like, oh, it's only one set of palettes left. That's not too bad. But this was the first multi-chrome they put in the palette, this Hanging Bridges one. I thought it looked really nice, or should I say dual chrome, because it's not a multi-chrome. But I really like the color story of this. I think it's unique to any of the colorful palettes they've come out with, which I really liked, because I felt like this Paradise Islands was more like a monochromatic situation. So I like pairing these together, because I feel like I get all my mid-tone airbrush shades out of this one. Then I can use the deeper tones in here for the outer V, or the bright fun tones to put in the crease and use these to airbrush over. And then this has some gorgeous fun shimmers, whereas the shimmers in here I feel like are pretty like muted or toned down, if you will. And if you combine both these shimmers together on the lid, it gives a nice like ombre gradient dual chrome situation. Like I be telling y'all, like just put them together and you know, like it'll look like you have one, and then you don't have to pay for some. So I mean, that's just a tip. But I definitely use these together a lot during the summertime, just because I really like both of the color stories, but one just doesn't have enough depth in it for me. The last one we're going to talk about in today's episode is going to be Woden's Eye. So of course we couldn't do it without Miss Tina the Fancy Face here. So y'all knew Hummingbird was going to be in here. Anytime Woden's Eye comes out, with a new collab palette with somebody, it gives me an excuse to bring out Tina's palette and use it. So I do. And like I said, you can see all the dips in my palette, so I truly love it. Like there's a dip right there, there's a dip right there, there's a little dip right there, there's a little dip in the orange, believe it or not, there's a little dip in the green. So there's lots of little dips all around through here. I feel like the things that don't have that many dips in it is the mattes, but I feel like I've put more dips in the shimmers than the mattes. But I like to pair this palette with lots of other palettes. I like to pair this palette with other palettes in the collection, like of course the Planet Spirit, because again, just like I said, companion palettes, to me Planet Spirit is a companion palette for someone my skin tone. It doesn't have enough depth for outer V, and I mean I like monochromatic looks, but I still want some depth on the outer V even if I am doing like the monochromatic thing. So I feel like Tina's palette pairs really nice with this one. I've given you all looks with pairing Tina's palette with this palette just because I feel like they pair together. I did do a look on its own originally with this just so you can get an idea, but I feel like this pairs best with me with Tina's palette, so that's why I like to use it with Tina's palette. Did I say Tina's palette enough? I think so. The last three I have, of course, are Angie's collabs. So I love using Angie's collabs, whether it's from Kaleidos or whether it's from Woden's Eye. So we'll start off with the Hella palette. I like to pair the Hella palette with the Flora palette from Makeup Just for Fun, believe it or not. I think I accidentally left it at home. I meant to pack it, but I don't really pair it with it as much. I usually just use this on its own. That's why I wanted to put it in here. I think I've only done that like maybe 2 times, whereas with Angie's palette I usually reach for it on its own, because I can get a nice pink smoky eye with the bottom part, and then I can get a nice like grungy green eye at the top, or I can mix the greens and pinks together to make a nice look like I do with the Tinkerbell palette. So it gives a good variety of tones. I mean, they weren't traditional tones I expected to see Angie pull. I mean, the bottom part, yeah, for sure, like the grungy situation. And some of the greens, I guess it's just like the pink that really was like, really, interesting. But I know pinks pair nicely with greens, so I thought that was like a unique twist and thing for her to do. And since I like pairing the pinks with the greens, thinking I'm an AK, I felt like it would go perfectly. Then Little Ghost. Y'all know Little Ghost is about to be it for me. Like, look at this color story. It's definitely giving me vibes. I got the purples here, I got the blues here, I got this here. I've already used this about 2 or 3 times. I haven't even had it that long, so that tells you how much I love and adore this palette. I will get definitely a lot of use out of this one, and even the Trick or Treat I feel like I'll still get a decent amount of use out of, just because of the tones in here. I compare this with a lot of other palettes in my collection to work with, because since it has a lot of neutral going on, I'm still gonna feel like I want to pair it with something else that doesn't give as much neutral or get a little bit more green out of it, because I feel like with only this one green and a lot of this neutral that's going on in here, I'm gonna want to pair it with other things. So this will probably be more of a companion palette for me. Not that it can't be used on its own. I gave you a really nice look on its own with my video. I'll try to remember to link it up above where I showed this with other ones. But yeah, this is definitely another one I plan on using a lot and getting a lot of use out of. So we are done with this episode of showing off my most used palettes and my collection from certain brands. I will be filming a part 2. Comment down below, let me know if you're interested or not, because I cannot pack that stuff and do all that and save myself some time. But you gotta tell me if you're interested or not. But I hope you all enjoyed this video. Remember, you all are diamonds, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Be blessed, girl. Bye.